Hello everyone, this is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for visiting my channel, and for those of you who are regulars, welcome back. I hope you like these messages. I will keep the intro very brief. These are, as you know, your September messages. A lot of it was channeled at the very beginning. Interesting energies, to say the least. I think I've said this before, we're all going through transformations and a lot of it is coming up. There's a lot of educational information I feel in these messages. So even if you're one sign and you're drawn to another sign that you don't relate normally, you might want to listen and see if there is something for you there, because I feel like they kind of sprinkled tips all over the place that could be useful by anyone, regardless of which category they fell into, because these are life situations that Spirit talked about. Also, for additional information as far as longer term messages, I will put those links down for you below. They are on Vimeo. There is the 6-month projection from July until the end of this year, December 2018. Also, the 7-year Uranus videos are also there, and that's a 7-year projection, so it'll give you the big picture of what things will be like over the next several years. But the 6-month is much more potent, because it's only focused on the next 6 months or so. Of course, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below. Thank you so much once again for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I always say, without you, I wouldn't do this. And what I do is something that I absolutely love. And I remind myself every single day how lucky I am to be able to do this and love what I do, because it isn't often that everybody gets to do that, right? So that just, I'm supposed to say, that just affirms that when you believe in what you do, things eventually happen. I think that message was for somebody. So I think that's all I have. Thank you again. Of course, if you would like to comment, information is comment down below how this applies to you, and listen to your other signs, for one of them may not mean much to you, but always listen to it at the end of the month or next month, because you guys always tell me that at the beginning it makes no sense, and then you come back and you go, oh my God, I can't believe it. So I wish you best of luck. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of yourself, and let's get going. Hello Sagittarians, these are going to be your messages for the month of September 2018. Allow me to go through some channel material that I have for you, and let's see what we have. So right away, when I'm tuning into your opportunity, into your sign, your energies, I am hearing the word opportunities. However, what I am seeing is that there are opportunities that are likely to be presented to you. However, in order for you to make that your reality, you first have to learn how to receive. Now that's really interesting, because some of the cards that I have speak to this. So it sounds like in the month of September, you might wrestle with some choices and decisions around the idea of learning how to receive, and it's essentially learning how to nurture yourself. Some of you seem to be stuck in this perpetual cycle of constantly giving, yet feeling like you are not receiving. And I'm hearing that you are not being responsible for yourself when you are engaged in a constant outpour energetically towards others, but not giving yourself the same amount of time, energy, or effort, and essentially letting yourself be, for some of you, walked all over, but most certainly not feeling nourished or balanced emotionally or mentally speaking. And some of you, I feel, are on the hook for this, or have been on the hook for this for quite some time. What do I mean being on the hook for it? What I mean is that you feel, or you are constantly telling yourself that it is your responsibility to continually take care of others, and you push aside the responsibility for self, which is nurturing yourself. So some of you may make, or may have been making, a whole bunch of excuses to give yourself the permission to do what you are doing with respect to giving but not receiving. But in reality, what is happening is you are trying to avoid the inevitable, which is essentially looking at the patterns and behaviors that keep you stuck in these situations, so that you don't continue doing this forever. I am being shown the number 10. 10 as we know, is the number of endings. It's a number of ending of cycles. It can connect to the month of October, though I feel for most of you it does resonate more with the ending of a cycle. And it is a cycle that I will call has to do with responsibility for self first and foremost. So it is obviously very clear to me, or there's a very clear indication that many of you feel that you are under a very heavy burden of responsibility towards others, where you are continually needing to give, but you are not receiving. But the reality is, for many of you, is that you do not know how to receive. So we will talk potentially what that may mean to you in the month of September. My greatest wish with these messages is to give you information that will make you think, that will make you pause, and that will make you see things that you have not seen previously. And seeing those things can offer you the opportunity for tremendous growth, and therefore having more freedom to be the person you want to be, and obviously to attract what you want. So let's talk about what that may mean for you. Giving and receiving is an act of commitment to oneself. What does this mean? It means that energetically speaking, at least energetically speaking, we are all like batteries. We have the positive and the negative, though it doesn't mean good or bad, but we have two different energies that are necessary in conjunction in order for the battery to work. The moment the battery is the battery is drained, is the moment where the battery can work no longer. So if you think of yourself in terms of the analogy of a battery, if you are the conduit that is energetic and you constantly give, essentially what's going to happen is you will deplete your resources emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, and otherwise, to the point where you will feel many times like you want to give up. So what's being shown here is that you have the responsibility to yourself to learn how to give yourself back what you have, give yourself what you are not receiving. In other words, if you are constantly looking for someone to love you, if you are constantly looking for someone to validate you, if you are constantly looking for someone to nourish you, if you are constantly looking for someone to complete you, you will be in this perpetual trap, because no one can truly fulfill that fundamentally within you other than you. I'm not saying that people cannot love you. I'm not saying people can't say good things about you. I'm not saying any of those things. All of those things are important. But if we fundamentally believe that in order for us to feel good about ourselves, we have to constantly overgive, over-nurture, adapt, and put ourselves last, we are in a perpetual cycle of feeling exhausted, because we are not learning how to recharge our batteries. So for many of you, it's a bit of a push in the junk, so to speak, to pay attention to your choices and decisions. And if you are in fact someone who has a tendency to overgive, ask yourself some really important question and be honest with yourself. When you constantly overgive, particularly when it makes you exhausted and tired, and it makes you maybe even angry and resentful, when you do those things, what is it that you are getting from it? Now, many of you will say, well, what I'm getting from it is that I feel good. Well, if you're drained, or if you're complaining that you have no time for yourself and you're never getting anything in return, then chances are it doesn't feel very good. So you might want to examine the real reasons why you do have a tendency to overgive. Now, We overgive in many situations. We overgive with friendships. We overgive in work environment. We overgive with family, with loved ones, with kids, with strangers. We overgive in many different areas. It does not mean that we are not here to give to others. But when we overgive on regular basis to the point where we ourselves feel depleted, there is something fundamentally wrong with this equation. Why? Because at the end of the day, it ultimately leaves you needing something from life that you're not getting. So it leaves you exhausted, dissatisfied, and just plain not happy. Now, the cards that kind of fell for the month of September, I kind of asked, okay, what's the theme here? 3 cards fell. I was asked to keep them, and I looked at them, and it's actually quite amazing. So you have the card of change. You have the card of new paradigm, which is a shift of consciousness, and you have learning how to nurture, or learning to nurture. So very obvious. Month of September is going to feel, perhaps for some of you, like things are changing, and they're changing really fast. Doesn't mean anything bad is happening. Change is a constant. Change is a constant. The one thing that we can always depend on is that change is constant. We change every single day. But it looks like September and October, for some of you, there's going to be some internal changes going on. I don't know how these changes will be, what's the word I'm looking for, triggered. Could be something happened, something had happened, but there seems to be some changes happening inside of you internally, where you are either becoming aware of certain patterns, or you will become aware of certain patterns that don't serve you. As a result of these changes, there is an opportunity for you to shift your perspective on life. And I always say, everything is based on our perspectives. And when I asked about what this perspective is, it is about nurture. It's about giving and receiving. So again, same idea that I said earlier. There is going to be some opportunities in the month of September where you can look at some area of your life really closely and decide if you are not constantly putting yourself in a position to overgive, mentally, physically, in all aspects. And if that is the case, you might want to pause and think, what are the reasons behind you doing this? And since everything is a learned behavior, it is something that you have learned along the way. So you might have had parents who never gave you emotional affection. And in order for you to get some affection, you needed to be a certain way to please them and to make sure that you got some affection. So you will have a tendency to please others, to make sure they're always feeling good. You may have been bullied at school, where you felt crappy when you're bullied, and it made you believe that you are not very much, or somehow you felt very rejected. Then you might have tendencies, particularly with friendships and relationships, where you try extra hard to appease individuals just in order to belong. And there's various gazillion other ways that this can translate, but it is important for you to pay attention to areas of your life that you are struggling with, particularly in relationships, and notice if there is a tendency for you to overgive in some way, shape, or form. And then ask yourself if this is something that you continue to do. So that is the theme. And that can come out as somebody says something and you begin to think, what's wrong with this picture? Or you get to the point where you're really frustrated and something inside you says you can't do this any longer. And it'll start this internal dialogue happening inside of you that says there is something that needs to give because you can't continue this way, or you don't want to continue this way any longer. You have the card of cleaning up, and then you have the Knight of Swords kind of as a pair. So what this is saying here is that it is time for you to look at the things in your life that need cleanup. It's time for you to look at things that don't serve you. It's time for you to look at the cracks in your foundation that are making you many times not very happy or even miserable. And you are urged to take advantage of the opportunity, particularly in the month of September. I don't know why September, but perhaps because because you will be made aware of certain things around your behavior that will make things click for you, and it'll change the course of action going forward. You also have chopped wood in reverse, and you have 3 of cups in reverse. So a lot of it has to do with some sort of a betrayal that happened somewhere in the past. This could be a betrayal where you felt betrayed or rejected as a young child. You may felt that you were not as loved as your siblings, or you may have been made to feel like you're not good enough. I mean, that's, again, it can come out in various different ways, but there seems to be some sort of relationship in the past where you were rejected, you felt betrayed, your heart was broken, and as a result, it's almost like you closed yourself down, which would diminish your ability to receive. When we over-nurture others and we don't nurture ourselves, it usually stems from some sort of an idea that we are either not enough, we are not worthy. If we open ourselves up to receiving, we're going to get hurt again, so we are going to close ourselves down. Many different ways, but it would be worth you looking at your relationships, how you relate to others, what are your dynamics with individuals where particularly you have a need to overgive, and ask yourself what gave you the idea that you need to be this way. In other words, trace back into your earlier life, and notice if there were any difficult moments in your life, and I'm sure there were, that gave you the idea that you have to work extra hard in order for people to like you, to accept you, to love you, to value you. And as an example of, if you do not have enough value in yourself, when it comes to money, for example, you will more likely than not have difficulties or struggles financially. Why? Because your value system is worth. It's your inner worth. Money to us represents value and therefore worth. If your fundamental belief on a subconscious level is that you are not worthy, it's going to be very hard for you to attract the thing called worth, because it's a contradicting energy. So same applies for relationships. If your idea of you is somehow that you are not very much, you will have a tendency to overplease others in order for them to stay, which will also diminish the ability of you having a solid relationship that is based on trust. In other words, if you don't trust right now that a good thing can happen, it's going to be very difficult for you to attract a relationship that is based on trust. So you need to learn how to give to yourself. You need to learn how to nurture yourself. You need to learn what nurture is to you. And a lot of the times it's literally starting from scratch. For many of you, it is to learn how to receive. A huge component, and talking to many clients, including myself, a lot of us have difficulties receiving. We're not conscious of it. We're not realizing we're doing it, but we do have difficulties receiving. So one of the ways to check this is notice how you respond when someone pays you a compliment. Do you jerk inside and something happens and it's like it feels awkward, or do you welcome it with open arms and you say thank you and you move on? Notice what dialogue inside is happening when somebody tries to give something to you. When someone gives you a gift or offers you something, how do you react? Do you push it away and say no thank you? Do you feel awkward accepting? Do you feel awkward receiving? Those are all signs that you have no idea how to receive, or at least you have difficulty with receiving. Now, being a human, I would suppose you would have this need like everybody else. You would want to be loved. But if you do not know how to receive love, it's going to be very difficult for you to bring it into your life. Now, some of you may be single and you may be hearing this and you might scratch your head and go, let me think about this. Some of you might be in current relationships where you are struggling and you might go, let me see if that's what I do. Some of you might be in work situations where you are feeling like you are constantly used and abused, and then you go, maybe it's because I overgive. And if I overgive, I must think that I'm not good enough as is. Otherwise, they would find out and they would ask me to leave. Whatever it is that you fear the most, chances are, if I'm talking to you or if you're listening to this, there is some aspect of your life that you can connect with on this level. Learning how to receive is a process. It does not happen overnight. Just like a child doesn't learn how to walk from the first day, it learns how to crawl, and then it eventually decides to get up to see what that's like. So learning how to receive has to start small, because when you overwhelm yourself with too many things, then the risk of you continuing to pursue this is very high, or not continue to pursue this is very high. Why? Because it'll overwhelm your internal systems that at this point says, I don't deserve, or it's not for me. So start small. Start to accept gifts from people. When someone wants to give you something, accept it. Generally, people want to do good things because it makes them feel good to give. When you give, generally you feel good too. So why wouldn't it be different for somebody else? If somebody pays you a compliment, learn how to receive it without trying to figure out how you can reject it, or what you can say in order not to take the compliment. Little steps. Learn how to take time out of your busy day to pay attention to you, to what you feel, to pay attention to what your intuition wants to tell you, to spend time in meditation in order to feel good. In other words, learn how to give to you first, because when that happens, you begin to become more accepting of receiving, and then that door begins to open and it begins to widen. When that happens, you are ready to receive more from the universe. And again, number 10 is being shown to me. So many of you are at the end of a cycle, and there is a huge opportunity for you to completely shift the way you think about giving and receiving, and particularly how it applies to you. And when we have a shift of awareness, when the light bulb moment goes on, I didn't click, when we have that oh my God moment, you can never go back to what you knew before. It doesn't happen. Once you have the awareness, you can never go back. I always say you can choose to forget, which is called denial, but you can never go back. In other words, shift of awareness brings forth brand new beginnings, because your brand new awareness allows you to shift your behavior, which then will allow you to experience different things. Which means letting go of the old hang-ups you have about yourself and about receiving. And that is always tied to the sense of your value, or how you value yourself. And I think that's all I have. I hope this was helpful. This is definitely something that you might want to look into. So if it makes no sense to you at the beginning of the month, just keep it in mind, listen to it at the end of the month. But this is a message that can apply to any part of your life at any point. Also, if you would like a private session with me, that information is down below for you. Thank you once again for choosing to listen to me. There are many amazing readers out there. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye.